What's going on, guys? No, just checking in. I wanted to do a quick update video on my experience so far taking Klonopin, which is a benzodiazepine. I'm someone who's got an extremely anxious background, depressive background, and Klonopin, low dose as needed, was brought into my regimen about 3 months ago. And I made a video about it because it was pretty fantastic how I responded to Klonopin. I mean, 0.5 milligrams of Klonopin could take me from like a really agitated, anxious, obsessive, spinning, uncomfortable space with physical anxiety as well, just to feeling normal. And that was a pretty fantastic discovery. But it also was one that was met with a lot of warning from a lot of you guys who know a thing or two about a thing or two and who have followed the channel. The warning being that if your brain, if you become physically dependent on a benzodiazepine, there can be some very, very tough consequences if you ever want to try to get off of them, or if you build a dependence and you have to go up. And so I was always pretty scared of that, pretty mindful of that, and I read some things and thought I knew enough and was taking it infrequently enough for it not to be a problem. And I posted a video like, can you take benzos every day? Because, you know, when I found it, when I took my 0.5 of Klonopin and I had such a positive response to it, not a euphoric response, not a high response, but just a very good natural feeling response, a calming feeling, and I wouldn't even call it sedation. It just felt normal. I was like, damn, I think this is something I want to incorporate into my regimen for mental health. Not to be taken all the time, but just to be taken sometimes. Well, now I've had it for like 2 or 3 months, and there's a few things that I would say. One is that for the first time ever, I'm afraid to go anywhere without it. And I read about that. I heard people saying like you'll become not only physically dependent, but psychologically you'll be afraid to go places and do things without it. You know, and prior to finding Klonopin, I'd only ever taken lorazepam like a handful of times when I thought I might panic. And I never really liked how lorazepam made me feel. That one, which I think is like the generic for Ativan, that made me sedated. But I never felt that with Klonopin. Well, the other day, I was driving to the gym, and I realized I didn't have my pill bottle with me. And immediately, my stomach started to turn, my chest started to tighten, and I started to feel panicked. And I was like, oh shit, that's not good. That probably isn't the relationship I want with Klonopin. A one where I'm afraid if it's not on me at all times, something bad could happen, and what will I do? I've clearly developed a psychological dependence on this medication. And so it kind of provoked me to want to make sure that I hadn't developed any physical dependence either. I'll be very specific with the doses I've been taking. I take twice a week. I'll take 1 milligram, usually in the morning. Sometimes 0.5 in the morning, 0.5 in the evening. Actually, it kind of goes back and forth between the two of those, depending on if I'm having a rough day. Twice a week. But I'd say once every couple weeks, I'll take an extra 0.5 somewhere. So potentially 2 times a week, I take 1 milligram, or 2 times a week, I take 1 milligram, and then on a third day, I take 0.5. Now, in my head, I thought that so long as you were not taking it more days than you were taking it, chance of physical dependence would all but be gone, and everything would be cool. You know, and so far, that's been the case. I hadn't noticed any physical withdrawals or anything like that, but I'd also never gone more than about 2 days, 3 days without taking it. And then I started doing some more research and reading it and trying to learn from a lot of the messages you guys have sent me. And I guess it's around like 3 or 4 days that you really start to notice if you have some physical dependence or whatever. And so, by the way, it's morning time, and if I seem like tired, it's because I am. I just woke up. But I wanted to record this now because it's on my mind. So anyway, the whole like I'm afraid to go anywhere without my Klonopin realization was a big red flag for me. I didn't like that. And I started to reflect on if I was really using it each and every time because I really needed it? Or did I really like how calming and normal I felt on it, you know? Because in a perfect world, I would take it every day. I would take 0.5 in the morning, 0.5 in the evening, and that would be great. I mean, for someone who has just endlessly sought after some mental health stability and dealt with the ebbs and flows of mood disorders and major depression and anxiety and stuff like that, to take something like Klonopin that was so immediately effective in alleviating symptoms, it was like kind of unreal to me. It felt a little too good to be true, which is sort of what brings me to my next point, which I started on and then I diverted from. I decided I should take a few days off of it. Just like legitimately take a few days off of it. Because, like I said, I started questioning myself. Like, you know, I always want to make sure my heart's in the right place, my integrity is intact. And I was like, have I really taken it every single time because I truly needed it? And I could pretty assertively say no. I just knew that I could take it twice a week on days that definitely were a little harder than other days. And they would just make those days really good, you know. Days where I could just feel normal and productive and in the moment, stuff like that. So, psychobabble aside, the main thing that made me want to make this video is that I haven't taken it in about 4 days, and I'm pretty sure yesterday I was starting to feel some withdrawal symptoms. Now, I also don't know for sure if I didn't just spook myself into feeling certain things. I think the term is like psychosomatic. Like our brains are pretty powerful, and I just come off of reading like a bazillion blog posts and personal messages from you guys about your terrible experiences with coming off of benzos, and I don't know if I just took on some of those side effects out of pure fear and almost like a mental placebo, like I just read about it and started to feel it, but I felt like I started to feel last night, you know, like it's been at this point, or at that point it would have been 48, so like 72 hours, you know, we're on day 4 now, like maybe some brain zaps, like a hot brain, pressure in my brain, and I was having some weird dreams, and my anxiety was pretty high, and I just felt like I was having brain zaps, like almost like electric impulses in my brain that I could feel. I don't know if that's a benzo thing. I don't know if it's something I created out of fear of having withdrawal symptoms. But nevertheless, it made me want to make this video and sort of just share openly about the fact that I think I'm overdoing it. Like, I think 2 times a week, occasionally half a dose for a 3rd day a week, I think it's probably too much. And I think that even though it's been working, I don't like the idea of being afraid of withdrawals in any capacity long term. I've always been proud of relative self-reliance on coping with mood problems, but I also don't feel like it's a weakness to need something. I just think we have to be honest about why we need it, when we're using it, what are the reasons and our motivations, stuff like that. And so I think some of my motivations became a little more lackadaisical, and I think just having last night, you know, and today kind of experiencing that weird, like, am I going through withdrawals, like, insecurity, tells me that I need to back off. So my new goal is to only use it truly as needed. Truly, within my heart of hearts, not as wanted. Because there's always going to be harder days with my anxiety, and then it's ultra convenient to take 0.5 milligrams of medication and just be able to depend on it working for you. It's really damning, because you're just like, fuck, like, it's too bad that this isn't something that's indicated for long-term use, because it's so incredibly relieving, and I spent so many years feeling so helpless and powerless and scared and anxious and panicky, that finding something like this was just, it was a trap for me. Now I am grateful to myself that I haven't started taking it every day or anything like that, and I've never upped my dosage. Never like worked my way in the last 3 months to 1.5 milligrams or 2 milligrams or 3 milligrams. I've never done anything like that. I've always kept it the same, but I also know that that I can do better. I can cope more effectively, naturally, and I need to still rely on the self-care and the tools I have that I've always had that certainly have served me well. Maybe not as effectively well, but certainly they come with less risk. And I am definitely scared enough about benzos from what I've read and the videos I've seen online. Some people recommended, like, I think it was like a Benzo Awareness Day recently, and I watched some testimonies. It's scary stuff, and I have a history of severe mood problems, and I'd certainly be disappointed in myself if I invoked some of those experiences again simply by being negligent or irresponsible. So I think I'll stop now while I'm slightly ahead, and I'll try to dial it back to truly as needed. And in my mind, if I had to pick a number, I'd say no more than once a week, but let's try for like every other week and save it for hard days, because they can come very randomly, hard days, and I just want to make sure that I'm picking those spots in the right place. And yeah, and then start getting used to traveling around without the bottle. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that is. I don't know why that rubs me so wrong, but it did. It really, like, I was like, damn, that's unfortunate. So yeah, you know, all that negativity and all that sort of like somber introspection aside, I have really enjoyed, you know, being able to incorporate the Klonopin into my mental health recovery. The hindsight being 2020 just shows me that there's still room for improvement. There's room for adjustment, and I need to always be able to be honest with myself about my motivations and then how I'm taking care of my mental health and stuff. I mean, I'm so completely imperfect that when I do spot something I can easily control. I want to make sure I do that. So that's my update. Hope you guys are doing well. I appreciate you. Please continue to share your stories with me. They mean more than you could ever know. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.